Hello and welcome to another video. This is Jarvis Life Coaching, and today's topic of the video will be stop trying to discover your passion. I know that sounds a little counterintuitive, especially given the fact that we're talking about life purpose and actively doing something about life purpose, but allow me to explain. Prior to doing that, I want you to go back and watch last week's video of societal conditioning. It's very important that that gets watched, because what happens is these videos are meant to build on top of each other, and I'm hoping that you are able to get an understanding of the previous week's concept before watching this video. So with that said, passion development, because we're not discovering, we don't necessarily have it, we don't necessarily have to find it. Passion development often happens accidentally. So imagine for a moment that you're out hiking, you're walking, or whatever you're doing, you're out in nature, and you're just kind of moving along, you're doing whatever it is you're doing, and you turn around and something catches your eye, whether that's the city skyline, whether that's a really nice flower, whether that's a cactus, whether it's an animal on the road. But that catches your eye and you decide to take a picture. And then as you move along, you take another picture, and you take another picture, and all of a sudden you're starting to do your camera movements and all of that, and making sure that it's just the right kind of shot. And that's really what that's kind of talking about. It could be that all of a sudden now you're interested in photography. You're interested in seeing what road that leads you down. And all of a sudden, you might not even have had a interest in photography, but all of a sudden, boom! It's like you've always wanted to do this for your life, for your entire life. You always wanted to take pictures. You always want to do these things. But it's an interest that's triggered, and so of course you follow your impulses and you look into it. Now, I will say this: sometimes that interest can fade. Sometimes that interest disappears. But other times it could be more, and you can learn more, and you can get more into it, and you want to experience it again, and you want to continue to deepen your understanding. And all of a sudden, that little itty bitty picture that you took turns into wedding photography, or special event photography, or news photography, etc., and so on. So there's a lot of things that it all of a sudden can turn into. The other thing that really we need for passion is encouragement and exposure. Sometimes, like if you're imagining that same situation where, you turn around, you take a picture, sometimes that's not enough. Sometimes, it's kind of cool, I'm going to try it again. It might take multiple times and multiple, experience to continue to re-trigger this particular interest over time. And this is why it's important in a lot of ways, especially if you're looking to make a life purpose or passion or anything like that, that you have someone who's there to cheer you on, a cheerleader of some sort, whether it's a mentor, parent, significant other, whomever, however, whatever, but they're there to encourage you to further explore whatever topic that you're interested in, if it's photography or whatever it might be, and really just reinforce and support you and make that a stronger interest in that topic. Number 3, and this is something that people may disagree on, is that passion isn't always enjoyable. It starts really excited, and you're really like, oh yeah, I'm going to take this picture, I'm going to take that picture, I'm going to do this, and this. But then sometimes, you're stuck in a little bit of a rut. Sometimes it becomes more challenging to complete whatever it is that you're doing, to do whatever it is that you're doing. And there certainly may be aspects of the activity that you might not like, or that feel a little bit more like a chore, like, planning or reaching out to people to get booked for weddings, in the photography example, or, for the special event, or, even just having to talk to a newspaper to see if they would be willing to print your pictures and so on. Some people don't like that form of human contact. And the key is here to stick with it, to be encouraged by that mentor that we just talked about, and continue to stick with it. And then as it continues to develop, oftentimes the benefits of doing the activity will outweigh its cost. And the next thing then is passion doesn't require talent or skill at first, usually. And when we start something, it's like, oh, we're not good at it. You know, it might be a picture that's super blurry and the camera is not the right camera, and so on and so forth. And yeah, it might just not be, good. And that we have to be okay with that. We have to make that mental note and say, you know what, that's okay. I'm going to continue to pursue that. I'm going to continue to get better. Maybe I'll get a different camera. Maybe I'll get a different subject matter for my pictures, whatever it might be. And we kind of have to work at it a little bit. It might start, initially out with play. Like I said, you turn around, take a picture, and you're like, oh, this is fun. For curiosity's sake, not so much because we're good at it, unless we're naturally good at things, which is a completely different story. And oftentimes, having to understand that we're not good at it at first is what actually holds people back in passion development. Because a lot of times people don't want to pursue something that they're not either immediately good at or know that they will be good at. So it takes a lot of, again, encouragement from others and a lot of determination, if you will, to continue to pursue that particular passion. And with that said, true skill, true talent, that's something that's developed over time. Yeah, it's interesting. You take your picture, you're like, oh, this is pretty cool. I can see myself doing this. You take the picture, you do it, and you do it over and over and over. And then all of a sudden it's like, bam, this is great. So yeah. Passion takes practice is the next one. In order to be proficient at something, you have to continue to practice doing what you want to do. So you have to continue in the photography example I mentioned, you have to continue taking pictures. You have to continue possibly investing in different cameras. You have to invest in different software and things so on and so forth. And you just have to continue to practice and do things in a certain kind of a way and do them better each time and all of that. And the more you develop that skill, the more that activity reaches higher level of enjoyment, which then continues to reach a sort of a state of flow where you're continuously doing something. And that takes practice, deliberate, meaningful practice. Not just repetition, but practice, commitment to improvement, and really spending time to do that. And then, number 6 is purpose amplifies passion. And when your passion ends up being directed towards your higher purpose, a higher level of meaning and fulfillment is achieved immediately. Well, not immediately, but over time. And, the whole thing about purpose is that it's a conviction that you're doing what you're doing because it matters and because it's connected to the well-being of others. Because when you can see the impact that your passionate efforts are making, you feel even more strongly connected to what it is that you're doing. I'm going to say that again because that's really kind of meaningful. And when you're seeing the impact that your passionate efforts have, you feel more connected to the activity, more strongly connected to the activity that you're doing. It's really important to remember. And then on that note, so what do you do if you don't have a fully developed passion? That's also a very important thing to discuss if we're going to discuss passion development. And it's simply, first and foremost, let yourself off the hook. It's okay. Understanding that, maybe you're doing all of these activities and, kind of interested in them, but not really like super passionate about things. It's okay if it doesn't lead to your passion, to your clearly identifiable passion. The key there is to stop trying to force things. Because if you force things, they usually turn out to be shit, right? And we don't want to force anything. We don't want to feel like we need to force this because it's the right thing to do or because it's the thing that will lead me to my passion, when in actuality, it might not. The key to know here is it's never too late to pursue any interests, right? 60 years old, 70 years old, 80 years old, 90 years old, whatever, it's never too late to sit down and go, hey, what could I be passionate about? And with that said, having a single high-intensity passion is not really a requirement to a fulfilling life, meaning that just because you have your passion doesn't necessarily mean you have a fulfilling life, because that's what purpose also is all about. Number two, even if the interests and inclinations that you have are moderate, just follow the trail. It's fine. Deep down, you're going to know that certain things that you have no interest in and others, that you do. Allow yourself to explore. And that is the key, right? If we don't allow ourselves to explore all of these different interests that we might have, we may never get to really that passion that we have in certain things, or something that feels positive and like an accomplishment. And the third thing is where a lot of people struggle, which is that we need to be open to trial and error. Just because we try something doesn't mean we're automatically going to be successful at it. Just because we think that we're good at singing in the shower doesn't mean that we should pursue a singing career. There, again, it goes back to the practice, and it goes back to all of those things. And oftentimes there isn't really just one thing that you can become passionate about. Don't be afraid to pursue those things and those interests that may lose their appeal. Continue to do those things. If you like singing in the shower and think singing career is your thing, continue to practice. Continue to do those things. It's fine. It's okay. You gotta try new things, and you gotta get out of your comfort zone in order to be able to fully pursue any one passion. And then last but not least, on the topic of passion development, I want to talk about some of the characteristics of passion development that may have been holding you back. And for that, I have a couple questions. Question number one is, have you allowed yourself to follow your impulses or interests? Or do you brush them off as unimportant? If you follow your impulses and follow your interests, you are likely to continue, and you're likely to find passion. If you brush them off as not important, that's like telling yourself, whatever, I don't like it, I don't care, I don't want to do anything with my life, whatever. Sounds a little harsh, but it is the truth. Question number two, have you put yourself into situations where you could have more exposure to your interests or get more support? Or do you live within the bounds of your comfort zone? That goes back to what I just mentioned about comfort zone not too long ago. Are you a person that is willing to tear down the walls of your comfort zone in order to step out of them, and in order to really get to know new things and see if any of those new things are what you're all about? Number three, have you allowed yourself to move forward even in the face of unpleasant aspects of your interests? Or have you expected perfection and rejected hard work or necessary effort? It's a big one, because again, that goes into what we were mentioning earlier. Are we going to try, fail, and give up? Or are we going to try, fail, learn, and continue? That's basically what that's asking. And then, have you allowed yourself to play and fail? Or have you avoided your interests because you aren't great at them? Nobody is great at any one interest right away. And again, if you fail and then stop, you didn't really learn anything from that experience. So I encourage you to try, fail, make mistakes, learn from mistakes, and try again, because you'll have that much more knowledge to try again. Have you applied yourself to deeper exploration through deliberate practice? Or have you left the development of your passion up to chance, or when I feel like it? So I know that I said earlier that oftentimes passion develops accidentally. And it does. But when we're thinking about something that we might be passionate about, remember we do have to do a little bit of work. So have we tried to explore that interest more? Have we practiced that interest more? Or did we just say, you know what, yeah, I'm interested in that, but yeah, we'll see if it happens or not. It's more of a passive role. And then last question is, have you considered the impact that you would like to make in the lives of others and the meaning this would bring to your pursuit of passion? And, excuse my dog, please remember that it's probably the most important question out of all those questions that I asked, because purpose is more powerful than passion. And that last question really kind of drills into that purpose piece where, does your passion benefit you and others? And does it bring something positive to the world and your environment in some sort? And by environment, I mean social and all of that. And depending on what the answer to that question is, you are very well on your path to find your life purpose. And again, you're not necessarily finding it more than you are developing it. But in any case, I wanted to say thank you so very much for listening today. Thank you for watching. And as always, if you have any questions, if you have any concerns, anything that you want me to cover, please feel free to leave a comment or message me directly. My contact information is in my very first video, in the introductory video. Please feel free to go look and check it out. And I hope I will see you again next week for the next video. Thank you very much.